Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
It's time to move on to our all NBA team predictions. This one's going to be a little bit interesting because I know we all have different ones. This one took a long time for me to come up with, but of course we'll go ahead and I think we should start off with what, third team, or we start off with first?
Third.
Third,
Start
third. All right. I feel like, yeah, I mean, this one was extremely tough. Third and second team, but yeah, have to go ahead and kick us off then. You're muted.
So my third team is De'Aaron Fox, John Morant, Jimmy Butler, LeBron, Sabonis. That's my third team, man.
Okay.
I'm good about it.
I got Fox, Harden, Jimmy Butler, Julius Randle, Sabonis.
Okay. So looks like we all have De'Aaron Fox on here. But I got Dame after Fox, and then I have KD on here, Julius Randle, and then Sabonis. So
okay, so we all have Fox and we have Sabonis.
I have Sabonis.
So we have two of the Kings.
So we have two of the Kings players that made the third team, but for somehow, some way, guard, forward, and forward position, we got it all messed up.
Can I know why you have KD on there?
He had one of the greatest seasons ever. Yes, I think he shot 55, 40, and 90.
He played like 47 games. He played the least games out of anybody in this.
He played like 50 games, but you can't deny with the type of numbers that he put up.
Like, I feel like his number threshold is like way lower.
Who do you have in for his spot then? You have Jimmy Butler?
I have Jimmy Butler.
I have Jimmy Butler.
You look at Jimmy Butler's numbers, that's not all NBA numbers.
Jimmy Butler, especially since the All-Star break, he's been an amazing player. Absolutely.
23, 6 and 6, and a phenomenal defender, you know? And he's been the core of Miami right there, but he's that big piece of Miami right there. I don't know.
The thing is, though, I do have Jimmy Butler making the All NBA team. I just don't have him making the third team. I put KD here to be safe, simply because of the amount of games that he's played. Because of course he didn't crack the 50-game threshold, and of course, as we all know, next year is going to be 65 games minimum in order to get into this type of conversation.
I kind of have Dame though, man. Throwing Dame on the All NBA team list, sitting at a 13th seed.
This is a sympathy All NBA team, award. I feel like.
This guy has won, since the All-Star break, last 2 years, a combined 7 games.
I mean, the thing is, though, a lot of people are gonna feel bad for this guy, so they gotta put him somewhere. I mean, I honestly don't see John Morant making any team at all. Especially with that.
I don't
like Josh should Jaw is on my third team, and he deservedly so. He should be on the All NBA team. I don't know why the NBA is doing erasure on him, but he should definitely be on the All NBA team. This guy's averaging 27 and 6. On the second seed. I don't understand how he's not on an All NBA team, but LeBron honestly has to be my forward. There's no question about that. LeBron, whenever he's played this year, he's performed. I got
Bron on.
LeBron's got to be extremely higher. If anything, yeah, you have your list complete.
No, I have LeBron at the right spot. He played 55 games.
56.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have him here for a reason, and I don't have KD because it's like 49 games. Right? I don't even think he played 50, man.
Who's our second forward? I have Randall.
I have Randall Sabonis. So I think me and you agreed on that.
Okay. And then Abdi?
For what?
Your second forward to pair with Sabonis as a center. Because you have LeBron, and you have
it's Butler, LeBron, Sabonis. Those are my four.
Okay, Butler and LeBron as the forwards.
Yeah.
You could definitely put LeBron.
I feel like y'all are going off name value. Like LeBron.
No, I'm not going off name value, bro.
Y'all are going off name value. Like LeBron's been great this year, but 55 games, I feel like that's enough for me to put him right there. To be honest,
I better hope to see you have Julius Randle somewhere on this list.
Yeah.
No, don't worry, bro. Don't worry.
If Julius Randle is not on your second team, which we'll get to right now, it's going to be some problems, man. But we'll go ahead and move on. We'll move on to the second team.
My second team is Steph, it's Luka, it's Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle, and Jokic.
My second team is Shea, Luka, JB, LeBron, and Jokic.
All right, so my second team, I got Luka. I actually have Donovan Mitchell as my second guard, and then I was torn between these two guys. I have either Jimmy Butler or Kawhi, and then I have LeBron, and then of course I wrapped it up with Nikola Jokic. So I think for the
So
most part, what do we have? What
you don't got JB on any team then?
I have him on my honorable mention list. My honorable mention. I got a
You're
5.
crazy.
I got a
You're
5.
crazy.
I got a 5 for honorable mention that I'll get to in the end. But
JB's not on any of your team.
no, he's not on any of my team. It's tough, man. It's tough to get two Celtic players on this on the All NBA team, man. It's tough.
We got 2 King players. What's the difference on that?
It's a little different, Sacramento. A lot of the expectations.
I don't know. JB, I feel like JB deserves that second team, bro.
No, that's crazy. Jalen Brown not making All NBA team. That's just ridiculous. That's where you lost me.
He can make it. He can honestly make it over Jimmy Butler and Kawhi. So I wouldn't necessarily be mad at it. If I had to move someone
I
from my
just feel
honorable
like
mention,
if you have like I don't
How
have
did
Kawhi.
Kawhi play this
The only
year?
reason I don't have Kawhi is because I don't have KD. Like both of those guys, I think they
Yeah.
played great whenever they've been on the court. But I don't have both of them for the same reasons. I feel like the games played isn't enough for me. I just don't have them where I just don't feel like they played.
Kawhi played 52 games though, so I mean it's right next to LeBron, but KD 46.
the easiest pick for me, this one was obviously the center position. I think you guys can all agree.
Yeah.
When you look at the first team, it's either Joel or Nikola Jokic. So, I mean, I have LeBron here simply because obviously I think he played enough games this year, and he put up the numbers to prove it. There's just no
I
way.
don't know why you guys don't have AD on your teams.
I have AD as my honorable mention. He's on my honorable mention team. I was going back and forth between him and Sabonis, but I had to give Sabonis the edge simply because of the season that he's having along with the Sacramento Kings. So it kind of goes hand in hand.
Same with Randall Sabonis, like both of them, they performed very well this season. They played a whole lot of games and they hooped. Both their teams are sitting in good positions, especially the Kings with Sabonis coming this year. Finally, the Kings making the playoffs, ending up as a 3rd seed. I feel like Sabonis deserves that right to be on that team, and same as Randall for me. But AD's my guy.
Randall, the biggest reason why I even have him here is the sheer amount of games this guy played. I played a huge amount of games, so I have to give him that, especially how he's played. I think he's averaging 26 this season on good shooting. Like I feel like he deserves this. He's been to me, I don't know why people are saying Jalen Brunson's the best player on that team. I don't agree with that at all. I believe Julius Randle's the best player on that team. And I feel like Julius Randle is just all season long, the amount of games that he's played and the amount of huge outbursts that he had in terms of scoring. He has to be on my second team for sure.
Actually, I disagree with that. I mean, I do value Julius Randle and how valuable he is to the New York Knicks. I don't think he's the best player on this team, though. I think it's Jalen Brunson for sure.
I think it's definitely Julius Randle, man.
We saw what Julius Randle did when he made the postseason a couple years ago. We saw how terrible
Man,
the
that's
Knicks
2
were
years
last
ago,
year.
bro.
Yeah, he made the All-Star game 2 years ago, and
he's a different man now, bro.
We're gonna have to wait and see in this upcoming postseason. But I feel like when they acquired Jalen Brunson, a lot of people were questioning that contract that he got. But he came in here and he changed the culture for the New York Knicks, man. He's on my honorable mention list as well. For the guard position, honestly, it could have gone either way. He could have honestly made the 3rd team on my list. I would have definitely booted out Dame, but I feel like there's just no way the league's gonna let Dame finish out this year without an All NBA.
I mean, to be fair though,
nod.
Dame did play like you can make the case Dame was the best guard all season long in terms of how he played. But of course, when you factor in seeding and wins, then it gets a little bit.
Those 40-point, 50-point games are cool, man. But for those games, a lot of those games came with some losses on the end of them.
7 wins in total after the All-Star game.
He can't really do much about that though.
Come on. It does play a part of him doing at least some. We don't see any other star only winning 7 games in 2 years after the All-Star break.
I mean, the guy was literally putting up 40 and 50-point performances, and they were still losing some of those games. I mean, it's not really his fault. It's not like I get there's Dame and his whole.
If I had a green light like Dame, man, I mean,
if you're shooting at the same level he is, then go ahead. But nobody was like that this year, like him.
Nah, man, I don't know about Dame.
Donovan Mitchell wasn't good enough to crack your guys' list, unless he cracked your first team.
Don't worry, man. Donovan is here, man.
I'm willing to move Jaylen Brown from my honorable mention to my second team because I was already torn between Jimmy Butler and Kawhi. So that means pretty much that I didn't know who to pick. So I'll go ahead and pick Jaylen Brown. That gives me an answer straightforward. So I'll put Jaylen Brown alongside LeBron James as my forwards for my second team. And then I could put Jimmy Butler and Kawhi for honorable mention because I didn't view Jimmy Butler's season as an All NBA worthy type season. And then Kawhi, I feel like he had his moments during the season, but at the end of the day, just I feel like it wasn't enough. But so I'll put Jaylen Brown as my forward with LeBron. LeBron has to be on this list for sure for my second team. I think he didn't play enough games to be the first team, and I feel like his numbers are just just way too good to be on the third team. So I think the second team is where he fits best. I don't necessarily disagree with you guys after you having Steph there. Obviously, I have Steph somewhere else, but Luka being there.
I respect Sha. I have Shea and Luka as second team. Feel like
That's too disrespectful for Shea, man.
Donovan Mitchell had a phenomenal season with the Cavs. Come
Oh,
on,
100%. I don't disagree, man. I don't disagree. I think Donovan Mitchell had a hell of a season, but I think
I feel like where these awards get confusing is there's no like set criteria for games played. Like, I feel like that's why I can understand the whole 65 game threshold, because it's like KD has played like an All NBA player when he's been on the court, like all season long when he's played. But the guy's played 46 games. So should he really be on an All NBA team? Like, that's closer to half games played on the season. So I don't know, man.
I'm interested to see do we have Lauri Markkanen on any of our lists?
He's on my honorable mention. But you know what's crazy? I really wanted to put Lauri Markkanen in one of my teams, though. I really wanted to put Lauri Markkanen.
I was going back and forth between him and Julius Randle, man. Honestly,
that's disrespectful.
No, that's not disrespectful,
Lauri has
man.
been ridiculous this year.
What are we talking about?
Lauri has been ridiculous.
He had a hell of a season.
I don't know about that. Randle's playoff push.
Like, the only reason why I don't have Lauri making these teams is the same logic why I don't have Dame making my teams. That's the only reason why. Even though I feel like when you make it, you can make a case that Lauri is outside of course, Giannis, and AD in terms of the power forwards and stuff. I feel like Lauri has just been one of the best power forwards in the entire NBA, point blank period, especially early in the season. And in the second half of the season, he got shut down these last like 10 games or so. But to me, I feel like Lauri has just been absolutely like phenomenal, mad efficient player. He's really broken out this year, but he's in my honorable mention. I'm curious to know where you guys have Devin Booker though. Was he not like a factor that you guys thought about?
Ooh, did I forget?
Because since the All-Star break, Devin Booker has just been like
he's been great alongside Kevin Durant.
I could on the third team. I could replace James Harden with Devin Booker.
Wait, I never even addressed that. Why do you have James Harden on the third team? Hold up. That just slipped my mind.
James Harden had a nice year this year. What are you talking about? 22, led the league.
I mean, like, that's like, why wouldn't you have like Tyrese Halliburton there then?
Who's Tyrese?
He had a great year himself.
Yeah, but he didn't make the playoffs though.
Yeah, but still, and James Harden's missed a good chunk of games, no?
How much games James Harden played this year? I know he played more than Tyrese Halliburton. He's up there in the games played. 60 games.
Hey,
James Harden's not. He's not good enough. He did not have a good enough season to make an All NBA team, bro. He didn't even come up in my mind when I was creating.
I feel like first half of the season he had a great All NBA case. The second half of the season,
he missed most of his games. That's the thing. But I feel like, I don't know. For me, James Harden, the way I watched him play, I feel like compared to the last 2 years, I feel like he came back a little bit more better this year. He was pretty.
You think he deserved All NBA? He deserves an All NBA, not over Jalen Brunson.
I believe over Jalen Brunson for sure.
No, get out of here.
For sure over Jalen Brunson.
You guys are hating on Jalen Brunson.
I forgot about D Book, so I'm gonna put D Book in there instead of James Harden.
Definitely over Jalen Brunson though, for sure.
But over Jalen Brunson for sure, bro. For sure.
Bro, I don't think you guys understand. Without Jalen Brunson, this Knicks team is probably in the play-in tournament or even worse outside.
I mean, you could say the same
thing.
If this guy didn't have Julius Randle, they'd be in the same exact position.
I'm not too entirely sure, man. I think Jalen Brunson is kind of the player that makes this thing go.
Over Jalen Brunson, yes, but D Book, I forgot. So I'm gonna put D Book on that. I'm gonna put D Book on the.
Before we get to the first team, I want to know what's your guys' honorable mention team.
I'll go ahead and start. I got Ja Morant, and then I have Jalen Brunson for the guards. I moved Jaylen Brown from this list, so I'll go ahead and probably slot in Jimmy Butler or Kawhi in here. And then for my forward and center, my last forward and center, I have Lauri Markkanen and Anthony Davis.
Yeah, mine's Dame, Booker, KD, Lauri Markkanen, and AD.
AD, Markkanen, KD, Harden, and Ja.
I just think that jaw erasure is just ridiculous, man.
Ja is
Like,
crazy, man. But
NBA is trying to make an example out of
Yeah.
him.
yeah,
One
that's
hundred
just
percent,
an
he'd be
example
on
of
one of these
everything,
teams if he didn't if they weren't trying to make an example out of him for sure.
That's crazy, man.
Let's go ahead and move on to our first team though.
So I got Shea, I got Donovan, I got Tatum, I got Giannis, and I got Embiid.
Yeah,
I
for me,
think the last 3 spots are pretty
lock.
pretty obvious to most people.
These were those last 3 spots were the easiest part of that out of this whole thing.
Yeah. For me, it's Curry, Mitchell, and then the last 3: Giannis, Tatum, and Embiid.
For my backcourt, I have Steph and SGA. That's who I have, and of course I wrapped it up with Tatum, Giannis, and then Embiid. I mean, honestly, obviously, I think we all know who the MVP is going to go to at this point, but Joel Embiid, he's had a hell of a season, so he's earned himself this spot for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, SGA, man, this guy outside of those 3 guys that were locks for this spot, honestly, I think I had 4 locks. I think SGA was well deserving. He's well deserving of this spot, this first team recognition, first team nod. He's had a hell of a season. I feel like obviously without him, there's nothing that goes for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I feel like even if you take out any of their role players that they have on the roster, I think Shea is still good enough to cover up all those holes and still be a good enough player, also a good enough team, and still be in the same spot that they're in right now. So I feel like there's just no way in hell that this guy should be anywhere below the first team. Second team, I can't see it. Third team, of course, is not. He's not even going to come close to that. And then for Steph,
why do you feel like Donovan shouldn't get a first team all nod, or like shouldn't be on that first team?
Honestly, I didn't think too much about Donovan Mitchell in terms of being the first team. The only player I was going back and forth on were between Steph and then Luka. I think I didn't necessarily consider Donovan Mitchell as first team. Why do you have him first though?
I just feel like in terms of like how much he's raised Cleveland's level, in terms of like their ceiling and what they're able to do this year, I feel like he just deserves that like the first team all nod, especially at the shooting guard position. Like he's been the best shooting guard all year long, and if it wasn't for that little January stretch where he had a wrist injury or something and he was struggling for a bit, I mean, this guy would have a flawless year, in my opinion. You know, he's really just his efficiency and his scoring ability and the amount of outbursts this guy. I mean, how do you finish the season with 4 straight 40-point games? That's just absurd. And then he had the 72-point game. Yeah, I mean, this guy's just been phenomenal all season long to me. And so, he has the Cavs sitting pretty high. But I do see the argument where, his impact. This team was a 50-win team in terms of their rate last year with Garland, Mobley, and Allen. And, I feel like he's just come in here and just raised their ceiling. But if someone made the case that he's a second team and Steph was first team, I wouldn't be mad. I just outside of just my bias regarding Shea, I do see an argument for Luka being first team. But that last stretch of the season kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, man. Like the way they ended the season and them and his whole complaining to the referees and not playing defense, that kind of just bumped him down for me. So.
Yeah, no, I can see the argument for Donovan Mitchell. And now that I think about it, and I look at the numbers, I look at the standing positions where the Cavaliers are. I mean, honestly, I can definitely see them giving Donovan Mitchell the first team along with Shea. But that's about it. If they give anybody else that spot between Shea and Donovan Mitchell or Steph, then they got it completely wrong. Because I think I agree with you with the way the Dallas Mavericks ended the season. Luka Doncic definitely doesn't deserve to be on the first team. He's good enough to be on the second team. He had himself a hell of a season, finishing right behind Joel Embiid for the scoring title. But I can't necessarily place him any higher than this. So, Big Asian, your backer was
Curry and Mitchell.
Curry and Mitchell. So
it's the same. Shake, if he gets it, I'm not mad about it because the way he played this year, averaging 31 or 30?
31.
31. You take him off that OKC team, they're 17, maybe 18-win team. So he's played a big part in that team. He transformed into a superstar just like that. So if he gets it over Curry or Mitchell, no issue with that. But I feel like those 3 guys, it has to be those 3. Two of those 3 guys that get that first team spot. And
Crazy.
For me, like you said about Luka, man, that second half of the season, the way like defensively he's been performing, the outbursts, the crying, and everything, it doesn't sit well with me. Offensively, Luka's gonna get his, but you got to factor in every other part of the game. And for him like that, he wasn't part of the factor of that game. You know, defensively, leading the team and everything like that. It just he wasn't there.
You know, I have a name that I feel like people aren't really like talking about enough, even
Is it
though
Kyrie Irving?
yes,
There we
100%.
go. Yeah,
Like
see,
I feel like this guy has just been on a ridiculous tear of basketball.
yeah,
And he's another case the NBA is trying to make an example of, adding the fact that the Mavericks are the 11th seed, and then now he's just getting like nobody even like mentions him in these teams, even though genuinely I think Kyrie Irving has been better than De'Aaron Fox this year. I feel like he's better than outside of that, you know, I think he's been better than Ja Morant as well in terms of his performances. You know, he could genuinely make a case for a third team all NBA, but you know, the NBA just they're gonna make an example of this guy. I haven't even heard his name mentioned once in any of these teams.
yeah. Kyrie was definitely one of the players I was going back and forth on. I think this has probably been his best season post, Cleveland Cavaliers era where he left LeBron James. I feel like, when he was in Brooklyn for a little bit, he was playing at an all-star level, and he ended up getting traded to Dallas. Nothing changed. I feel like he still kept it up. Obviously, he had his games here and there where he wasn't playing well, but overall, I think for him not to even be in consideration for any of these spots, it just goes to show, of course, the NBA trying to make an example out of him, especially with the way he started off the season. But honestly, when I was doing some little bit of research on this all NBA team rankings and lists, I've seen some people put Dame the first team, man. I can't see it. A lot of people were gonna start. I honestly feel like a lot of people, they might push for him to be second team and potentially even first, even though I have him as my third team, just simply based on the fact that he had himself obviously a hell of a season. And I think people are going to use that argument where they're gonna say, yeah, well, he was the best guard, and then his team wasn't necessarily the greatest. He didn't have the greatest supporting cast, but the numbers are still there, and all the scoring outbursts, everything that Damian Lillard has done this entire season, that's going to be put on the table when the NBA is making a decision like this. So that's a hot take that I saw when I was making my list, but there's just no way in hell I could put Damian
I
Lillard as
mean,
first team.
like the thing is all about the all NBA. Like, what is it rewarding? Is it rewarding the best player at that position for that season? Is it rewarding winning, contributing to winning? Like, what does the all NBA like criteria like consist of? Because if it was giving it to the best player at that position for that year, you can make a case. Well, Dame's been that player for this season. But if it's like, is it contributing to winning? Then that's a different argument. So like, I feel like the all NBA thing is like, like it seems like it's pretty clear with a guy like Tatum, Giannis, and Embiid. But then outside of that, it's like, what is the criteria for these guys? And it's going to be even crazier next year with no positions. Like now, imagine this season, you would have had a guy like Fox competing with his own teammates, a bonus for a position, which is crazy to me. So I don't know what the All NBA criteria should consist of.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, that's pretty much wraps up our all NBA team. But when we look at it from going into next year, man, I understand the idea of the minimum games being played has to be 65 games, but going positionless doesn't make any sense to me now that I think about it, man. Because I mean, as tough as it was, to make this type of list, I feel like it's going to be a lot tougher to make it next year because when you have to consider, all the positions for just only 15 spots. So it's going to be interesting to see. But that pretty much
Like
wraps up.
imagine you're a guard though, like first team, or like even second team or third team, like you're a guard competing with Randall, Laurie Markkinen, Siakam, Sabonis, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, Jaren Jackson. Maybe next year if he takes another leap, you have a plethora of players that you're going to be competing with when you're a guard. On top of the fact that you're competing with a whole bunch of like 8 other guards yourself, which is just crazy to me.
I feel like this is probably going to be the last year we see a lot of these guys on this list. One for sure, two for sure. I could probably say is LeBron and Steph Curry. Actually, I'll probably even throw in KD to this discussion as well. Kawhi Leonard will probably never see on this list, but pretty much I think the direction that the NBA is moving towards is pretty much allowing a lot of the younger guys to play X amount of games, which is 65, and if they end up playing that 65 games, they end up having a shot at making an All NBA team depending on the season that they have. So they're trying to move in a young direction. So I kind of understand that, but moving forward, it's going to be tough to build out this All NBA team next year without guys like LeBron James, without guys like Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry. But obviously the guys like Tatum, Giannis, SGA, Donovan Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, Julius Randle, and Sabonis, these guys are going to be here. And so it's just going to be interesting to see. But I think that pretty much wraps up our All NBA team.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Me and now late, now that's overkill.